Hello everyone. Today we are going to be exploring a game called Woodo, and we're just going to be doing a playthrough of it. I have another separate video that I'll link in the description that just kind of explains what this game is about, but for now we're going to be playing through it. And full disclosure, I have played this before, but I absolutely loved this game, so I had to make a video and run through the whole game again. Currently on Steam as of August 16, 2025, there is only a demo out, so I'm not sure how much the full game will be priced, but highly recommend, very worth it. I'll definitely be buying it myself when it comes out. I love how the game starts with a cute little intro. So you start out with these maps that have a lot of white pieces, as you can see, and then over on our right is our inventory. And you can see that as you change the camera view, it'll actually change the rotation of these pieces. So it kind of gives you a little bit of a hint where these pieces might go, and then you just click and drag.
There are some things that never leave our heart. Places where we felt welcome and warm. People who made us feel like we belong. Moments when we were truly happy. Everything we gently keep as our most precious treasure, hidden deep inside.
And there is a little bit of
over
an
time,
introspective
they
story.
become a part of us if we allow ourselves to let life's wonders in.
And certain times, once you drag one piece, it'll kind of fill in all of them. So for example, this little button, tomato-looking button, it'll fill in all of them. So the game doesn't make you place every single piece.
We'll feel alive enough to embrace joy in the moment, realizing we can't stop time, knowing it will pass. That's what happened to me. Inside this little wooden box is my happiest memory. It's a memory of a summer that seemed endless, and happiness that smelled of warm bread and fresh apples.
And the best part about this game actually hasn't revealed itself yet. So for those of you that are thinking, okay, this game's alright, seems a bit simple. It is simple. It is a simple game. However, there's a very cute element to it that's not displayed on this level, this introduction level yet. And then this key is down here, and that unlocks our last piece, which is the lock.
Welcome to the world of Woodo.
So we're gonna go ahead and hit play. That doesn't even actually count as a level. You can't actually access it on this map. Not that I have been able to see anyways. So this is technically our first level that we're going into right now. And this whole map, you can see there's a lot on it that will be in the full game. The demo currently only has 2 levels, not counting the one that we just did. So immediately we're greeted with a fairly simple level, it looks like on first look, and this little guy has the most amazing little jiggle physics. This is so cute. This is where I first truly fell in love with the game, the first time I played this.
Hi there, it's me.
Now you can see that every time your cursor goes over something you've completed, it does a little animation, and that's where this game really gets
at least
incredible.
This is how I remember myself.
And there's little noises as well. There's certain pieces in this game that have multiple parts. So for example, this backpack has like a top, a side, and then the actual backpack itself will be later down the line here.
I used to be such a city girl. I'd only ever really seen the countryside in movies. My mountains were skyscrapers, and my rivers were noisy highways. But I guess saying I lived in the city wouldn't be totally correct either. I spent most of my time online.
So you can see this little guy makes a little noise. It's nice little tapping noises from the iPad here. Very satisfying. I'm actually gonna save this top piece. Every time you do play this level, it is randomized in the order that you get the pieces. So maybe that kind of adds a little bit of replayability.
Social media, chat rooms, online games, friends I had never met. Actually, I hardly ever left my own room. And why would I? I have the whole world at my fingertips. Well, a virtual one anyway. Mom and Dad always got me whatever device I wanted. I really had it all. My phone was pretty much an extension of my hand.
Here's a little backpack that we just got. So that's completed, and now it does a little jump when you hover over it. The bird is one of my favorites, this little bird right here. Oh. Okay, sometimes sometimes it only does half a whistle. I'm not sure if that's intentional or if that's a bug, but got a little thumbs up right here. So you can see as you fill out this page and you start hovering over all these things, there's a lot of pleasant little noises that tickle your brain. Now, the keyboard is one of my favorite parts, so this keyboard here, that is so satisfying. And I didn't understand this when the first time I played this, but you know, I thought the keyboard, sorry, excuse me, it was completed, but you actually get a set of keys to finish that out that I didn't realize on my first playthrough. Mouse makes a little satisfying click sound. I just love how innovative this game is. I've never played
one day, everything changed.
A sort of coloring book game like this before, but the fact that every item has its own animation, that really seals the deal for me. And then now we're gonna move on to the final level of our demo here. This one's more intricate, a lot more to do here. The game gives you a little bit of a tutorial that you can zoom in on certain parts of the map by double clicking, as well as skipping pieces. So you don't have to go in the order that it gives you can skip around in the inventory.
Here I am again, right in the middle of the great unknown, and surrounded by them, white, brawny, and rude. The day my life changed, I was exiled into this hostile environment, unsuitable for any modern soul. I held my phone tightly, still finding comfort in the fleeting connection to the world I lost.
So I was struggling a little bit on this level in the beginning because there are some hard to find pieces, and I'll kind of save them all at the end here, I think, so that you can kind of see where the more difficult ones are. If you don't want to be spoiled, then I'll kind of leave those. But what I didn't realize at first is, you know, it seems like there is white pieces. Also, I love the way, sorry, I just got distracted. I love the way that your mouse interacts with the edge of the inventory box. That's just a small little detail. It's so nice. It does look like there's white pieces over here, but I wasn't sure how to access them, so I was confused a little bit first time playing this, but what I realized is we're focusing on this section right here, and then once we complete this section entirely, it'll move on to the next one. You know, so you don't have to worry about that right now.
The gang of geese, clearly thinking they're the biggest deal around here, sized up the sudden intruder on their land with little shame and even less hospitality. I couldn't help but wonder who had been feeding them so well. Perhaps a goose grandma who's always saying they're too skinny? Even the goose in a hat didn't inspire my trust. Who told him it suited him at all? I have to admit, though, it looked pretty cute.
And you can kind of start to see that there is a bit of a story in this game, with this fox here. Seems like all the geese are very maybe jealous of the backpack, and wanting to kind of take it. They might they might be bullies potentially. Love these little spectacles for the goose. So you really have to rotate the map around a lot and make sure you're not missing anything, because I mean there's a little guy back here. I wouldn't say the game is particularly hard by any means. I think there's a few pieces that, you know, I kind of took a little longer on, but the majority of them, for me anyways, have been very, very obvious. You have a little top hat for the duck here, as well as a feather to go along with that. Wow, this one looks very angry. The fish took me a little bit to find, so I will leave that one for a second here. I'll kind of put all the harder pieces in one section. This one is one of my favorites. So once you place this, does a little run. Adorable. I love the way that and unintentionally, as you kind of just place pieces, it makes your mouse hover over these little elements that all make a nice sound. Little bushes. I cannot get over how interesting this game is. I would have never thought of a concept like this. I feel like it's so simple yet so pleasing. It seems like we're left with a few pieces that I kind of wanted to keep aside. So the fish here, it's a little bit hard to see, but it's actually down in the water. And, you know, obviously it's a fish. I knew to look in the water, but it kind of blends in with the background a little bit. So it's a little bit difficult to see. And this little briefcase. Give your game a turn there, then it's on the side of this goose. And this little crab was actually the most difficult one for me. But if you take a look down here, it is in the water. And maybe that's obvious to some, but the first time I was playing, I don't know, there was just so much to look at, and you know, I couldn't quite find it. This last one here, I actually don't remember where it is. But the game does give you a little hint icon as well if you ever do need to use it. So if you go ahead, it'll kind of point you in the general direction and highlight it for you. So, you know, if you're really getting frustrated and you just can't seem to find it. And then you see that we unlock this door here to move on to the next part.
Closing the gate right in front of their round faces, I could finally catch a break, thinking for a second that it was the end of my troubles. Ha! Oh well. Ahead, there stood something dark. A living, breathing mountain, next to a tiny, breathless fox. My looming fear took the wheel, revealing my next course of action to me. Touch the fence with my left hand, then my right, then this and that, and most importantly, in the right sequence. And then, the mountain would allow me safe passage.
So I will say this story, the story in this game was a little confusing to me. It seems to kind of say a lot, but the meaning is a bit, for me anyways, I found the meaning to be a little lost on me. Like, it sounds like it's trying to be deep and tell a story, but I don't know, maybe it's just because I was so focused on placing these puzzle pieces.
I was fighting that thieving goat for my own backpack, while even the goslings on the fence were loudly cheering for her and not me. I realized that reaching the cottage where I'm supposed to spend the entire summer wouldn't be as easy as I anticipated.
So at this point, you know, the story becomes a little bit more clear. Everyone kind of wants his backpack, and he's going on a journey to reach the cottage that he's going to spend time in this summer. So the story does become a little bit more clear at this point in the game, but I will say, at least in the beginning, it was a little difficult for me to figure out what the narrator was trying to say. You know, what is the purpose? You know, who's this little fox? Is the game supposed to make me think something specific? But this level I really enjoyed because as it goes around this little circular map, you can really see how the fox is progressing in his journey to get to that cottage. I love these little chicks. They're so cute. There's also a nice level of depth here and blur. It feels really immersive the way you kind of get the blurring in the background, and then, you know, there's a foreground where you have these elements, but also there's like things you can place all the way in the back there. Now this was one of my favorite pieces. You can see this little guy hiding there that you might not catch on your first go. And he goes and runs away when you hover over him. So cute. Now, first time I saw this, I was amazed that you can actually go inside the backpack. So the game's got some interesting elements that you can, there's kind of puzzles within puzzles, if you will. And I thought that was so cool. And in case the noises are a little bit loud, I just want to take a second to go through the settings in this game. There's a couple options. You know, we have the voiceover of the narrator, turn the subtitles on and off. A couple different language options here as well. Subtitle sizing, subtitle background as well. So you have a couple different options. You can actually reset the game as well if, you know, you have someone else in your household playing it, or you just kind of want to redo the game. I do really like the audio settings in this game because they actually allow you to change very specific audio settings. So for example, you can change the music versus the ambient volume versus the voice volume of the narrator. I know some games only have 1 or 2 control settings, so it's really nice to kind of break those down. Pretty simple graphic options. You know, there's nothing too complex in this game, but there are some water reflections and cloud shadows and things like that. You can play this game on controller. And then there is a colorblind mode as well. All right. And then my first time playing this, I do just want to call out that it's a little bit difficult to place this phone. My first playthrough, I had to kind of get the correct angle. So if you struggle, this piece, for example, I can obviously tell that it goes here, but it wasn't really placing. So that was a little bit finicky. And then after you complete the backpack, you just go out. And it will give you the door to complete, to go to the next section here. So you can see now that the fox is running away from this angry looking goose, and by his eyes you can tell that that's the goose from the earlier level.
Okay, Foxy, almost there. Press the backpack close, hold your breath, and tiptoe quietly. Why do they even need that dog when they already have the grumpy geese gang?
Wow, that was satisfying. He's got some tears in his eyes, some sweat. You start to recognize these pieces, these red pieces, as legs. At first, when I saw them, I was like, "What? What is that? Is that a sausage of sorts?" But it's always the Geese's legs. Now this last little Z took me a second to find, however, you can see it's right behind this doghouse there. It's a quick little section.
Have you seen their teeth? Seriously, why do they need so many teeth? They're birds. If they have to flash them to me up close, why not in a nice and friendly smile? And they always looked so cute in the pictures.
Oh my god, their teeth are actually terrifying. Jeez. And you can see, even though we're on this level, out of the 4 levels within this level, if that makes any sense, I can still hover my mouse over that section that we first completed and it'll still do those animations and those noises. Now this little square block here is hidden behind this one. The game does get a little bit overstimulating at some points. Like, I know on this level here, it's kind of impossible to avoid your mouse hitting this little goose. It's not impossible, but it kind of takes a level of unnatural routing with your mouse. So sometimes the noises are a bit much, they're a bit loud, and a bit annoying, if you will, but typically I find it more satisfying as opposed to annoying. But the geeses are a little bit annoying. And now that we've completed most of the 4 sections, we can actually zoom out the entire map, and the game allows us to find pieces from all over, making it a little bit tougher since you have a lot more area to look at and try and find your pieces. This is really the first point in the game where I started using these arrow keys to skip parts, because before I was kind of making it a personal challenge to not, only work on the first 3 set of items that the game would give me and then move on to the next 3. Kind of just a little challenge for myself, but really in this part there's just so much to look at that I had to start skipping through a little bit. Now, one of my favorite parts is this little roof tiles here. They make the most satisfying noises. Love that. Love that. There is a cute little caterpillar right here. Adorable. Now this little blowfish, excuse me, was very interesting because at first I didn't see it for a while, and then I thought, well, it's a fish, it must be in the water. And there's just a little section over here that you can kind of zoom in on, and there it is. So that took me a second to find because it almost seems like there was nothing in the water that we needed to solve anymore, but then I was like, hold on.
And that's how my first day went. Full of joy, friendly faces, and the oh-so-warm welcome from the local residents. It's hard to describe what I felt at the time. The old world I knew was fading away, replaced by something so foreign I couldn't understand it, let alone love it. It was all new, uncomfortable, and safe. A harsh transition. My old connections torn and the new still incomplete.
I do wish that this game had a way to repeat the narrations, as sometimes I feel like I'm so focused on placing the pieces that I kind of ignore what the narrator is saying.
I was afraid that this summer would change who I was, taking away the things I loved and relied on, that I'd lose myself entirely in this forsaken village.
So you can see now that we've completed the level, there's a little camera icon that it prompts me to press, and it kind of explains that I can zoom in on these little elements, which we already knew. However, once we zoom in, for example, if I want to capture this little caterpillar right here, we have some things we can mess around with. So this icon will just go ahead and open your images gallery in your file explorer, and this will take a little screenshot. So you can also make it do a little pose, you know, hover over it and then take your little picture. There's also a little caterpillar over here. So I do like that this game allows you to take those photos as opposed to just, you know, having to take one like this. I like that you can zoom in on specific sections. I do wish there was a way to take maybe a GIF perhaps, or some sort of maybe a time lapse. I would love it if the game would kind of show you the time lapse of you completing this level. I think that'd be really cool, but you know, the game's not released yet, so hopefully in a future update we will have that. And then there are, again, because they are taking feedback still with the game not being released, there's bug reports that you can detail, and the game will actually prompt you to give feedback as well. They have a little Google Forms. So once you click on this little present icon, it says thanks for playing. You can go ahead and wishlist the game to get updated on when the game does release, as well as sending feedback. And I believe this is a link to their Discord. But yeah, that's all for this video. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Would highly recommend wishlisting this video. Super cute game. Haven't really played anything like it before, but yeah, as you can see, it's very chill, very relaxing. It's a great game to play on stream or even just after a long day when you're winding down. Maybe even on the side as you're doing something else, watching a TV show, you know, whatever. But yeah, I will see you all next time, and I have been playing a lot more indie games recently, so if you're interested, feel free to check out the rest of my YouTube videos, and maybe you'll find something interesting that you like on there. But for now, I'll see you guys.